Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. The International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking is observed annually on the 26th of June. The decision to mark the day was taken on the 7th of December 1987 through a resolution of the United Nations General Assembly in order to strengthen global action and cooperation to achieve its aim of making the international society free of drug abuse. This year's theme, Health for Justice, Justice for Health, emphasizes that justice and health are two sides of the same coin when it comes to addressing the problems associated with drugs. In February 2019, AIIMS submitted a report, Magnitude of Substance Use in India, that was sponsored by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. The study found that around 5 crore Indians reported to have used cannabis and opioids at the time of the survey. About 60 lakh people are estimated to need help for their opioid use problems, and nationally it is estimated that there are about 8.5 lakh people who inject drugs. Of the total cases estimated by the report, more than half of them are contributed by states like Assam, Delhi, Haryana, Manipur, Mizoram, Sikkim and Uttar Pradesh. Punjab ranks consistently at the top or in the top 5 in many of the surveys conducted. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze how to tackle the drug menace. Joining me on the program today are Vikram Singh, former Director General of Police, Uttar Pradesh; Aditi Tandon, Special Correspondent, The Tribune; Smita Deshpande, Professor of Psychiatry, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital; and V. Rajalakshmi, Sociologist, Janki Devi Memorial College, Delhi University. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. V. Rajalakshmi, I'd like to begin the program with you. First, let's try and understand what kind of a problem this is. Is it a social problem? Is it a psychological problem? Is it a behavioral problem? Is it a combination of all of these factors? What is it really?
It's a combination of all. To begin with, if you talk about the students, the young people, sometimes the students tend to get into drugs if they are in a technical institute because of the work pressure, or you can say studies. See, what happens normally is, like in medical colleges, I mean that's what normally one hears about it, in medical colleges and in engineering colleges, when students, children go out of their homes and stay alone, and they have to really study hard, and you know the work pressure or the reading pressure is so much that in order to keep themselves awake, in order to cope up with the pressure, in order to cope up with all the kinds of stresses which are around them, they end up using drugs because they get to know about from various sources, maybe the friends and all, they say that you know there are particular drugs which you take them, it will keep you healthy, active and fit. Then comes the other kind of thing that sometimes out of fun, in order to experiment, what is it, like what happens, because most of the times in the media they keep showing that you know this takes you into a different kind of world where you are stress free, or you know you enjoy, it gives you a certain kind of enjoyment. So therefore sometimes out of fear, experimental purpose, for the experimental purpose they end up taking drugs. So there are many reasons. Sometimes at the lower level what happens is that people who are in a very, when they work very hard in order to relax themselves, or maybe because of lack of sleep and adequate amount of food, they need to take something which makes them a little drowsy, or maybe you know they have to sleep or relax. So for that they end up taking drugs. So the drugs
enhancer
issues,
or a stress
yeah,
buster.
the stress buster. So it's actually related to the class in different ways. The reasons for, their reasons are many.
Sure.
And so therefore, you know, it's like related that way.
Okay,
Yes.
Dr. Vikram Singh, at some level it is also a law and order problem, isn't it?
Absolutely, Mr. Pereira. It is not only a law and order problem, it's a social problem. As the learned panelist said, it's a cocktail of many factors. What we are currently discussing is the consequence, and the cause happens to be the drug cartels and the crime syndicates, and ultimately the ISI, which is the biggest supplier of drugs. The states that you mentioned, Punjab, Assam, Uttar Pradesh, have some kind of an international border, and the conduits come from. Therefore, apart from the fact that smuggling, law and order, and the possible consequences, we have heard of Maggi noodles, biscuits, pan masala and gutka laced with drugs, opiates, papaver somniferum, and also other varieties of hemp that are laced with pan masala and gutka. I am also given to understand that of late the lizard tails are being roasted in autoclaves and ovens and mixed with pan masala and gutkas and given, because that also gives a high. But the law and order problem such that there are rave parties. You must have heard various rave parties that were raided in Gurgaon, Noida and other places of the country. What are rave parties? You have using and misusing the social platform and the social media to fix up and give drug parties. And the police seem to be, I would not say they're blissfully unaware, they seem to be looking not the other way, but also turning a blind eye for obvious commercial reasons. I am making a very strong statement, but if the police officer does not know that 500 people are assembling, especially 90% youngsters, and whatever nefarious activities are going on, and police chooses to look the other way, I, as an ex-police officer, would say that they have a long way to go, and I would expect better from the local police. It is indeed a law and order problem. The police need to put up their antennae high and see who are these people who are behind the rave parties. If I may just have another 30 seconds, I would say these rave parties are organized and orchestrated by the drug syndicates who have a deep-rooted vested interest and financial interest. A party is organized, certain activity, there are a distinguished lady panelist, a sense of decorum prevents me from stepping out a little further. But yes, for people, men and women of questionable backgrounds are invited, drugs are laid out, and all varieties of drugs are given, and then they are made addicts. Our experts will tell you that if you just take 3 doses of a particular drug, one is hooked for a lifetime. Sure. It is a very scary situation, Mr. Pereira. I do hope that the narcotics department, the police department do something and take proactive measures to ensure that at least our youth are safeguarded. We are seeing a very scary situation in Punjab and Assam. Let us hope that this story is contained and controlled and it's not replicated anywhere in the country.
Thank you for not mincing your words there, Dr. Singh, and giving us a clear picture as to what the situation really is like, and that the law and order authorities really know what is happening but decide to turn the other way. That's the unfortunate state of affairs, really taking the discussion forward. Smita Deshpande, now let's try and understand something. Is there any research that shows us, if there is a particular sector, a particular age group, a particular, type of person who is susceptible or who takes drugs?
There is plenty of research, especially international research, but to some extent it is futile to develop some kind of a drug personality, because as madam here said that it's also a cultural issue. There are drug subcultures, and I would here like to point out something about legally available drugs, which are also a huge health problem as far as we are concerned. Tobacco is the biggest problem, and it is usually a gateway drug where children start just to experiment, just as an adventure, as early as 8 years or 9 years of age, and then gradually they progress to alcohol and then cannabis. And there are very large interested parties who feel that cannabis especially is totally harmless. Well, when people started taking tobacco and alcohol, they also felt that these were equally harmless, and it is only over a period of time that we understood that these are extremely harmful drugs. So therefore, it is a function of availability, it's a function of willingness to experiment, and a sort of a glamour which is attached to drug taking, which often leads people into that drug taking culture and subculture till they get hooked, and then it just goes forward from that. I would not delineate.
What about the poor? I'm sorry to interrupt, but what about the poor? You hear these stories of these rag pickers inhaling Corex and Erasex and so on and so forth. So that too is a big problem.
I am speaking precisely of this group of people who seek help at government hospitals. They belong to the lower socioeconomic strata, and day after day we get a story of starting with tobacco and going on to alcohol and going on to cannabis. This fluid and the petroleum products used to be a huge problem, but at least as far as the hospitals are concerned, some kind of control seems to have taken over, because the bottles of Erasex have been banned in Delhi, and I am glad that that was because of some kind of a appeal made by psychiatrists themselves. So I hope that this problem has become contained a bit, if not stopped altogether. But the legal drugs as well as the highly habit forming opiates, as well as party drugs, which are beyond the reach of most lower socioeconomic strata, but still they form a drug of risk for the upper socioeconomic groups, and especially when we have young people who have a lot of disposable income, and then there is availability of the drug and the willingness to take risk, which is actually a feature of that young age,
right,
the younger age group. We have a very lethal mix in which almost anybody can slip.
Certainly, certainly. Aditi Tandon, let me bring you to the picture now. What has been done really, this is not something new. This has been going on for several years now, and we know what the problem really is. How are we tackling it? What is being done really to try and put an end to this menace?
Frank, it's a very difficult, a very complicated question to answer, because as the learned panelists have mentioned, it's a hugely complex issue, and I think more of the quitting habit, it's a voluntary process. More than the fact that the government should step in, the government's role comes in only at a later stage. You know, the doctors come in at a later stage. The rehab center and the availability of rehab centers across the country has been a big issue. You know, there are a number of non-governmental organizations operating in the social sector in the name of drug de-addiction. But we've seen reports after reports that tell us what is the status of the addicts in these, you know,
we heard some
rehab
horror
centers.
stories last year.
Horror stories, and long back, I remember there were so many raids conducted in Punjab, because as Mr. Singh was also pointing out, Punjab has a huge problem, but you know, you're chaining the addicts, you're not actually giving them the kind of treatment and therapy that they need. So the real message to anybody who's struggling with the problem of addiction is that it is well within your own powers to quit addiction. You know, how do you quit addiction? By first admitting and recognizing that you have a problem, and then deciding to, you know, quit, making the right decision, making the right choices in life. We've grown up, you know, hearing stories of celebrities, actors who've gone through so many major addiction problems. You know, the Bollywood is full of it. India is only now seeing celebrities who are openly coming out and saying that they do have an addiction problem. And addiction is at various levels, Frank. You were mentioning a very important report of AIMS. Alcohol is the most abused substance in India. So even if you can control alcohol consumption, and a finer nuance in the same report that you began the show with is that more and more children are now taking to alcohol consumption.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the highest percentage of children who are addicted to alcohol, which is an illegal substance, are in Punjab, and followed by West Bengal and Uttar Pradesh. So, you know, you are looking at this problem really getting out of hand.
Sure.
So the law enforcement agencies have to really crack down. Maybe prohibition is an answer. You look at Bihar, you know, you will have all the men abusing Nitish Kumar, the chief minister, but all the women praising him. So maybe these radical political decisions will have to be someday taken, because if people do not self-control, the state has to step in.
We'll come to solutions in just a bit, but before that, I'm going to take a point that both Dr. Deshpande and Aditi Tandon made forward with you, V. Rajalakshmi. You know, the age of onset, really, now that is a major issue. You know, she was mentioning about 9 years in terms of tobacco use. The report that Aditi also was mentioning, the National Drug Dependence Treatment Center, which carried out this report, says that, you know, 16 crore people approximately are dependent on alcohol. The onset age is as early as 10 years of age. I mean, this is shocking, isn't it?
Very shocking. Actually, you know, our society is changing very fast. Now there are economic changes, there are political changes, the consumption pattern has changed so much, and suddenly there is a huge, I mean, we see a lot of change in the, you know, income levels also. Added to all that, there's so much of variety around, that is, there are so many options for anything and everything. So what happens is that at a young age, when they see that the parents are struggling to meet both the ends meet, a lot of time the children who are left alone at home, they tend to you know, start off as an experiment, or maybe a group of friends, they get together and then they start doing that. The other thing is that, you know, Haryana being one of the you know, main cities where there is a lot of drug abuse, one of the reasons could be that Haryana in the recent past, as we have seen Gurgaon and the Haryana, is really suddenly changed a lot. Land which was there empty is sold off at a very high price. So suddenly people have got a lot of money in their hands without actually a proper employment. So what happens with a lot of free time in their hands with lot of money, combine all these things, that end up spending their time in experimenting. So at a young, when they say the adults using at home, so the young children also tend to get used to it. That's the, then of course unemployment is a huge problem. Unemployment, to tackle with unemployment pressure, a lot of time what happens is the parents have a lot of aspirations for the children. When we actually sit for admissions, now that this is admission time, when we look at the marks, we really get shocked with everybody getting above 95. And with that kind of a pressure and all, sometimes the children also cannot cope up. So what they do is, in order to, when they look around or they understand that one way to release their pressure is by taking drugs and being in a different world altogether, with that kind of mindset also people get into drugs. Maybe it's a young age, the 12th pass or just enter the college. Then sometimes what happens is,
susceptible age
yeah,
also.
And sometimes we see students coming from the other states and trying to cope up in a metropolitan city like Delhi, where there are too many options, and as simple as the social media gives you too many, that people are enjoying, people are spending money, people are having, relaxing, everything. There's so many things around them that it becomes very difficult for them to actually channelize their mindset.
Certainly.
So therefore they end up taking drugs. Drugs may not be necessary, that's something which they become addicted to, but to begin with they feel that it could be a temporary relief from the pressure which they are facing.
Right. So Dr. Singh, India is really among the major hubs for illegal trading. We know where the supply routes come from. We know Punjab is really one of the areas where the drugs come into the country. We have this whole African route that is being used as well, the Southeast Asian route as well, to bring drugs to the country and take them out as well. So how do we tackle and how do we deal with the situation? What needs to be done? It's not like it's something that can't be done.
Absolutely, it is perfectly doable, but a resolute nation has to stand, because it is worse than the attack by the Chinese and the Pakistanis together. The drug menace, as you already said in your opening remarks, that it has already overwhelmed many of our states. That includes the sword arm of India, that is Punjab, and also most of Uttar Pradesh. Now, if I were to say 4 bullet points, one is education. Second is counseling. Counseling would mean non-shaming of the person who is accustomed to substance abuse, because he is a victim of crime, he is not a criminal. Rather than in our society, it is a tendency to shame the person who is using narcotics and things like that. To the contrary, if I were to stab you, I think the sympathy should go to you and not to me. The sympathy should go to the third, the NDPS Act has very strict provisions. One, confiscation of property, death penalty in cases where a person is a repeat offender. I would rather that the NDPS Act is strictly enforced and exemplary cases are convicted, and there should be a few exemplary sentences like confiscation of property is perfectly doable. And as I said before, it is not just the petty dealers, it is not those who sell laced ice creams and Maggi noodles to our children outside the schools and colleges. It is the ISI network and the drug cartels and the special interest groups that are fishing in troubled waters and supplying drugs. So if this proper intelligence, one can go not to small peddlers, not to small time mohalla and gully operators, but to the crime syndicates sitting in India at important places and outside.
Right.
Let the narcotics department get after them, get after the jugular, and make exemplary confiscations, and confiscation not only of the bank accounts but also their movable and immovable property as is mandated by the NDPS Act.
Sure.
And also counseling. You see, alcohol abuse is now, and a lady panelist has mentioned prohibition. There are certain tough decisions that the nation has to take, and it is a part of a directive principles of state policy. Today, I find that the alcohol abuse leads to other substance abuse. And the most scary thing, Mr. Pereira, is the off-the-shelf things available, and a sense of discretion prevents me from naming them. Things that are openly available off the shelf and in our kitchens can be used for taking a high. And therefore, I need to to say that those things need to be contained. Mrit Sanjeevani Sura needs to be contained. Certain cough drops need to be contained which have more than 50% alcohol content, and the opiates that come in the form of some substance or the other.
Right, absolutely. All right, Smita Deshpande, let's try and understand something now. Let's look at the picture from the other side. How difficult is it for someone who is an addict to come out of addiction? What kind of help does he or she need? And can it happen again that someone comes out of addiction and then relapses and goes back into addiction? What are the chances?
Well, we always say that if it starts and if the drug abuse goes on to a dependence pattern, which means that there is tolerance that the person cannot live without drugs, that the drugs becomes a primacy for his living, and he feels that it is, his whole life depends on consuming the drug, then it is really extremely difficult to stop. But that's not to say that people haven't done it. It can be done. It needs the help of a multi-pronged team from the health point of view, as well as it needs a very solid support from the family. So at the health end of things, we do need help from psychiatrists, from psychologists who are the psychotherapists, from social workers who are able to understand the family and the context in which the person lives, to be able to help him to get out of it, from specialized nurses who also form a very important part of the rehabilitation team, and from the family point of view, we also need physician, because many of our drugs, especially the legal drugs like tobacco and alcohol, cause a huge physical issues. They affect every aspect of the body, every system of the body, and therefore we need inputs from the physicians as well. Apart from that, the family needs to be involved at every stage to understand the difficulties, but as well as not only to stand with the patient, but also stand against the patient where required. If the person who is dependent on drugs insists on taking, then some limits may have to be set on his behavior, perhaps on his availability, perhaps on the finances or money available to him. And apart from that, as Mr. Singh was saying, some social support, some social sanctions as well as social support is needed in the larger context, because many times what happens is that even if a person recovers, a drug dependent person recovers, the society still stigmatizes her or him. In the case of women, it's much more, worse. Yeah. For men also, that stigma is there, and therefore they may be denied further opportunities for employment and for rehabilitation. So one has to go from end to end, right from the availability of the substance to the acceptance and glamorization of the substance in the society, to preventing health effects, and then if there is ultimately abuse or dependence, to help the person to get out of it.
Sure.
In that context, the de-addiction centers that we were talking just now, they are definitely necessary. What we talked about with the Bollywood personalities and all that, people are able to get out of their drug dependence if they are able to stay away from the drug for a long enough period of time.
And they get the right kind of support.
And the right kind of support. So generally they are called de-addiction centers, although they are not really de-addiction centers, they are rehabilitation centers. In a well organized and well conducted rehabilitation center, you can really help the people get out of their habit.
Certainly. All right. So Aditi, that having been said, do we need some kind of new laws really to look at this problem holistically and tackle them at the root itself? Some policy level changes really that can make a difference?
I'm not against new laws, Frank. We are a nation of plenty of laws, and as Mr. Singh was pointing out, the NDPS Act in itself is sufficient if the law enforcement were to crack down on illegal drugs. For instance, how are children procuring prescription drugs that are not meant to be procured by them? Naturally, the law enforcement agencies are not doing their jobs, and the law infrastructure in the country is extremely weak. But I would like to say here, come back to the main point. We have to begin by understanding that addiction should not be seen as a character flaw. By people who are addicts, they should understand they are normal people. It's just like any other ailment that any other person could be struggling with, physical, mental. Yes, it's a very powerful, it's a powerful addiction in the sense that it alters your brain function, it causes powerful cravings, and the compulsion to use and reuse is so high that the goal of sobriety seems almost impossible. But what I feel is that for any person who's struggling with addiction, the right point to start is to look at the lives of people who have been through worse periods of addiction and who have come out of it. One of the very famous novels that was written by a very famous star of Hollywood, we all grew up, looking at Drew Barrymore and, the Poison Ivy girl. She was a child addict. She is one of the most well-known child star addicts. She was drinking at the age of 9. She was smoking pot as a 10-year-old, and she was having cocaine as a 12-year-old. She ultimately went into a rehab, and when she came out of it, she penned a beautiful novel called The Lost Girl, The Little Lost Girl. It's a very powerful account of how you get into addiction, how you come out of it. So everything is inside yourself. You
Right.
just have to harness that mental and spiritual energy to come out of addiction.
Sure.
And the role of family and society cannot be overestimated here. The fact of the matter is, if you have a good peer group that encourages you to quit addiction, it will be a bonus. Unfortunately, more often than not, it is the peers who are forcing you into addiction.
Absolutely. Okay, 2 minutes left on the program, so I'm going to ask all my panelists to be brief in 30 seconds each. Closing comments on the best way forward. V. Rajalakshmi.
Most important thing is to identify the cause. The family should be very supportive, and unfortunately we always try to label the person who takes drugs as a criminal. I'm sorry, that's not the case, because there could be any reason for a person getting addicted to any kind of a drug. So therefore that needs to be understood very carefully,
Right.
and there should be a very, very strong support given
Okay,
so that the person is out of addiction.
right. Dr. Vikram Singh.
Fast track courts in all the major cities of India and ensure that there's conviction, at least one conviction every year. That would translate into almost 300 convictions in a year, and that will be the game changer. And also, those police officers and men on the excise and the narcotics department who seem to be complicit or incompetent, they also have to be dealt with, and the law has to incorporate for those who are complicit with drug peddlers and the drug mafia, and action even much worse than those drug peddlers has to be taken against those law
Right.
enforcement agents and the police officers who are complicit in this nefarious activity.
All right, Smita Deshpande.
So we always say the best thing is not to start at all. So say no to drugs right from the beginning, and if unfortunately the person is into the habit, keep reinforcing the message that it needs to stop and it's possible to stop.
Okay, all right. And Aditi Sandan, close the show for us with the concluding
Frank,
remarks.
much like sex education, talk about addiction is a taboo in our society. I think school education, the curriculum that is being taught to the students must include strong, heavy components on drug de-addiction, on drug addiction, what kind of a problem it is. It's not a temporary problem, it can be a lifelong issue. So students in impressionable ages need to know what drug addiction is all about and what are the ways of de-addiction. I think it has to be part of the school syllabus.
All right, it's a social problem, it's a law and order problem, but it's a problem that can be tackled if we address it in the right way, is what the panelists are suggesting. Better awareness and better acceptability, really, as far as a drug addict is concerned, to try and deal with this problem. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's it from me. See you again next time.